Hey everybody, it is We Got to Beat, the podcast devoted to teen entertainment of the 80s and beyond. I'm your host, Michael. My sister Mindy is on the other side. Say hello.
Yep. Hello.
I thought you were just going to be like, yep, that's it. That was your... Hi.
You never know what I'm going to do. That's the fun.
You're going to hear me take it off my armband. Sorry. I forgot to take it off, but if I don't, it's probably going to cut off circulation. And I'll die during the recording of this episode. I'm old, my arm hurts.
You might pass out, and we don't need that,
no,
for sure.
So this episode is celebrating the Mighty Ducks trilogy. Now, it came up in conversation earlier, well, sort of conversation. Is it technically a teen movie? And I say, if your franchise flows over into the teen years, then yes, it is a loophole.
Yeah, I think I just brought that up because sometimes I wonder, is it a teen movie because of who the movie is being marketed to? Is sometimes what I think I question.
Yeah,
so of these I feel like they were marketed to a younger audience, Kick-Ass, an older audience. So it's just something that I, think about sometimes. Not that we can't make up our own rules, because we do all the time. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I figured, well, if it's either focused on teens or sold to teens, like the Scream franchise. Yes, Part 3 is clearly much later when Sydney is in her 20s,
True.
But it's still sold to the teens. The whole slasher genre is basically sold to teenagers.
True.
But this one, I actually looked, and Joshua Jackson was 13 when they filmed this. So, yay! You're qualified.
When I watched them all over again, I was like, oh yeah, I really shouldn't have worried about it. Yeah, it's something I always consider, but again, we can make up our own rules.
Yeah.
Who cares?
All right, so let's start with I wanted to watch the show, but I have not got around to it yet, so that'll probably be a different episode. Is it around teenagers, or is it little kids?
I watched one episode, the very first episode. I think the kids might be, I don't know, I think they're middle school also,
okay.
So I think that it's about the same, but, one episode I watched was fine. I think, I need to watch a few more to really base an opinion, but yeah, I think it's about the same age range.
Yeah, one thing I noticed with the trilogy is that after part 1, they got rid of a lot of the younger kids.
Yeah,
so that they can make it, well, I think it's because of the Goodwill games had to be teenagers. And then you definitely have to do it with part 3 where they all have to basically be in the same grade in order for the story to work. So we lose a few people. Who's the little kid from Pete and Pete again? I can't remember his name, but he gets dropped.
Danny something or other.
Bonaducci, I'm sure. Danny Partridge. Danny.
It's something B. Danny or T. I can't remember, but I didn't realize that either. That for some reason in my mind he was involved a lot more than just one. But then I was like, oh wait, it was him and his sister. The sister's gone too, and then the two brothers from the first one were gone too. Their dad was gonna. Or did temporarily take over as coach. I was like, oh wait, they're gone too. In the second one, and also the kid that was from Heavyweights, the main kid from Heavyweights.
Oh right.
Who's on the freaking cover of the Mighty Ducks movie is not in any but the first one.
Yeah, that's interesting. And they keep some people around who seem to be kind of pointless, like. And I hate to say it because...
Guy.
What's that?
Guy.
I think you're saying a word.
You don't even know who that is, do you?
Who is Guy?
So he was in every single movie. He was the one who was sort of ended up being the boyfriend of what's her name? Marguerite Moreau.
Okay. What's his name?
He's in all of it. His name is Guy.
It is? Because I'm looking at it right now. It says Guy. Okay. So yes, I know who that is. Yeah, he is completely pointless.
In every movie. He has almost no lines, and for a while we're like, is he even in this movie again? And then we're like, oh, there he is. He's in 2 scenes, and I'm just like, what the heck? This poor kid gets the shaft. Why bring a kid back for every single movie, and he's one of the few that is in all of the movies, and have no damn lines?
Yeah, it's pretty much thrown away, but it's like, well, because Connie is a pretty big focus in the first movie, but they move her back in the second and third one because Cat. Why is her name called Cat Lady? I don't understand this. The cat. What's her name? She's in the second and third one. Well, she's a big focus.
I don't remember her name. The reason is I believe it's because she has cat-like reflexes. Because she's a bully.
Oh, okay.
Or it has something to do with the mascot of her home team, because they recruited her from somewhere else, remember? She was from like Maine, and most of the rest of them were from Minnesota. And a few of the kids in the second movie were recruited from other locations and just stuck with them.
Okay, yeah,
it's all very strange.
It's like, so Connie's a big part of the first one. She steps back so that Cat Lady is more of a focus. So it's just like they kept her around, and they're like, "What do we do? What do we give her?" And they gave her, Guy as the boyfriend. That's the only story they had.
It was really frustrating because it was just like, so like, why did you keep these kids around just to do nothing? Because it's like, They could have done a lot more.
Yeah.
And then that girl, what was that girl's name? Julie was the character's name, and she's the one who got to have the lines about, like the feminist lines. He's like, "Hey guys," and she's like, "People," and that stuff. And she got to be the '90s feminist. But basically, so many of the other characters were just like me. Like Dwayne, the like Texan kid, got all the cheese, and it was weird. Some of it was just, at least Averman got toned down and he was less obnoxious.
Oh God, yeah.
Some of the rough edges were toned down from the first one that actually made them more bearable. But then some of them were just toned down so much that they were almost non-existent. So I feel frustrated for the fact that really the only characters that really have like any depth at all is Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, he is your through line through the whole thing is Charlie.
Well, Charlie is this movie. I mean, Charlie is Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get greenlit without a star. I'm still weirded out that they were able to convince Emilio Estevez to be in a kids movie, because you look at his filmography before this, he was almost always like the tough punk. I mean, he had the Young Guns and all the movies with like Outsiders and stuff like that. And then he's like, a cop and
he was tough in a different way. So maybe he was like, I want to be tough and smart.
Yeah, that had to have been it. And, it gave him something. It gave him an introduction to an audience that had probably never seen him before.
Yeah, that's a weird thing is when I was looking back at the movies, how, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I imagine you have, the fashions and like styles of the 80s and 90s were really, really unflattering to everyone, men, women, doesn't matter. That when you look at people, you think they haven't aged, or they in fact look younger now, because like the makeup and the hair and all that stuff is so much more flattering now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, when in the second, or at the end of the first movie, when he is like gonna, try out for the minor leagues or whatever, and he's like, they're like, oh, he's so old, and he's like, they're saying he's like, I don't know, 29 or 30 or something like that, I forget. And I'm like, no way, he's so much older than that. But he wasn't really. He really was like pretty much that age. And I was just like, no way, the 80s are so unkind, Like, it's so strange how age is very confusing.
He also has that dark eye. The thing around, the bone around his eyes.
That's true.
He's always kind of had something. It's weird that he could pull off Billy the Kid, which was only 4 years earlier than this, and Billy was supposed to be 17, I think, at the time of the first movie, and he pulls it off. But I feel the same way about Emilio Estevez as I do like people like Brendan Fraser, where they were underappreciated by critics, and their movies have stood the test of time. They're known by a whole generation for certain movies that were kind of tossed away.
Yeah.
And then they kind of disappeared. I mean, Brendan Fraser disappeared 2 or 3 times for long chunks of time. Emilio has been gone for so long. The shock of him even being in the show is surprising because I don't think he's done anything since he has not directed since Mighty Ducks 3.
No, that's not true at all.
What? I feel like everything that he's done, he's directed. What has he been in that he hasn't?
Oh, I thought you said he hasn't done anything, even directing.
No. It's only he only ever seems to appear in stuff that he's directed, which is very sparse because he's.
But.
Yeah.
Genius. Have you seen The Way?
Yeah, it's great.
It's so fantastic. It's so and so is Bobby. I do think that there's a lot of his stuff that is really great and not very appreciated. I mean, I will always be a huge Men at Work fan.
No, that's probably my favorite bunch.
Maybe it's I think some of the best stuff is the underappreciated stuff. And I will tell you, that the last movie he directed was The Public, which you'd think that I would have been the first person to watch an entire feature film about the importance of the public library. I cannot watch because I'm terrified that they will completely brutalize and inaccurately portray my life's work. Therefore, I cannot watch it.
I'll watch it and I'll let you know.
I've heard it's fantastic, but I'm not sure I can find that out by myself. So anyway, I didn't know that Emilio Estevez was writing and directing Guns 3, the third installment of the Young Guns film franchise.
Yeah, it's a pseudo sequel because he doesn't own the rights, but Billy the Kid, all of that is public domain, so anybody can make it. So he could call it Blaze of Glory or whatever he wants, as long as he doesn't call it Young Guns 3.
Right, I think right now it's called Guns.
Yeah, I would have loved to have had. It's kind of a like purgatory, but I was thinking Old Guns, where you recruit everybody from the original movies, and have them like in the 1920s out in the West, and they're hiding out. They're like old Western guys, and the mobsters come in because I guess they were starting to plant like the idea for Vegas, and they're running drugs and stuff out of this small town in the middle of Nevada, and these old Western guys go up against the mob.
Well, you maybe have just given them a great plot line, and you're not going to get any credit for it. So
it was just going to sit there and rot anyway, so who cares?
And also, Emilio is totally going to listen to our podcast. So.
Totally, he's a huge fan. We love you, Emilio! Emilio!
Emilio!
Now, people gave him shit for this franchise, but this allowed him to survive a few bombs and gave him, the opportunity to direct, The War at Home, because he signed a deal for part 3, and he said, I'll do like 3 or 4 days of shooting, but you have to pay for this like $2 million movie that I'm going to do with my dad. And that's so he was able to get that directed and produced by Disney. And he survived Judgment Night bombing, which I think is a fantastic film.
That is a downright dirty shame.
Yeah. Another Stakeout, and it's just there's a few in here that tanked pretty bad, but thankfully with the success of Mighty Ducks, it was able to keep them going. This was a huge hit. It came out right at the beginning of hockey season, and it has a formula we've seen a million times since, but it's the Bad News Bears formula. And no one really replicated it again until this movie. Then all of a sudden you had so many copies of this. The Big Green. What's that? Little Giants. And there's so many sports movies focused around kids at this time.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, trivia. Jake Gyllenhaal, who was unknown at the time, auditioned for the role of Charlie Conway, but his parents wouldn't let him do the movie.
But they're okay with Bubble Boy.
I'm pretty sure like it would have been just a dandy movie with Joshua or with Jake Gyllenhaal, but Joshua Jackson is just Jesus Christ. That guy is just quality. Like from I mean, he was what? He was a little bit older than he was playing, right? So in 1992, he was probably like, what, 14, 15. He was a few years older than he was playing. But damn, like, just like the emotion. He's so good.
Well, and I really thought his career was over because the third one bombed and he really didn't have anything else. And then I saw a preview for Dawson's Creek one day and they're like, hey, this is E.T. with the behind the scenes of a new series from Kevin Williamson to Dawson's Creek, and I saw him, and I would go, this will last like 6 episodes, they'll cancel, and his career's over. And I was wrong.
Well, I'll tell you something, but somehow I did not know that there was a third Mighty Ducks, and I had never seen it until 2 days ago.
Shocking.
How is this possible?
I have seen it so many times. Yeah.
But the weird thing is that, like, I had no idea, at least not right away, that, like, the person on Dawson's Creek was the same person as Mighty Ducks at first. If I had seen the third one, there's no question, because he had matured and changed so much that you know, you can definitely, there's no question. But I have never seen it before. So I'm going to say that, like, I'm okay with that, and I probably won't ever watch it again. But, I mean, Joshua Jackson is still, like, the best part. He's the most consistent. I mean, he's the one who's in every movie. He's the heart and soul of the whole plot line of every movie, I think.
Yeah. Well, he's one of the few that has 3 dimensions, because
actor.
Yeah, a lot of these, they don't really give them much to do. Goldberg's in all of them, and they don't give him shit.
I know.
Thank God he's cleaned up. Oh, my God. He's not going to be in the show so far, but hopefully he cleans himself up and he's able to...
Yeah, you know, I will say that was one of the most joyous feelings I'd ever had for a complete stranger that I'd never met before. You know, when I saw how well he was doing and that he had gotten clean and all that stuff, and it was just like, it brought me a lot of joy. So I really hope that he can stay that way, and hey, maybe he can come back and make an appearance on the show. I did see that the most recent episode, I think like 5, I think they're on now, because they only air one a week. But a bunch of the kids came back together in the most recent episode, but I won't say more than that.
Yeah, Eldon Henson, I think, has had a very, very good career. Some of these guys just disappeared, but some have been consistent. Of course, Eldon has shined very well on the Daredevil TV show.
I will say that I kind of think great things about him. Isn't he in The Mighty?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're doing an upcoming episode.
We're gonna talk about. I love that movie with all of my heart, and yeah, it's super nice to see kid actors and they're able to transition to adult roles. And you know, I kind of found him annoying at first on Daredevil, but he really kind of won me over. So yeah, kudos, dude. I did think that was kind of annoying what they did with his character a bit in the Mighty Ducks movies, where it's like, clearly there was like adult men recording things that were supposed to be him, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure he probably could have pulled off like a deep, mean voice if you just let him try.
Yeah.
But instead you could tell it was like clearly an adult man, and I'm just like, what the hell? This is so weird. Some of the like gags that really irritated me.
The sound effects. Like
the first one, the first one really wasn't an issue for me, but somewhere in there by the third one, it was so hokey and just so like I had a feeling that because the kids were a little older, they felt like they had to try harder to appeal to a younger audience, and so suddenly it was just like so much more slapsticky and like all these weird special effects, and I'm just like, is there a cartoon bird that's going to come out in a second?
Yeah, I think the problem is that they refuse to believe that their audience was growing up the same as the cast. They should have dropped it. It's like they were still trying to sell parts 2 and 3 to the same age group, not the same audience as the first movie.
Right. And that's the mistake, because, I mean, kids are going to watch it, but also, like, don't insult your fans that have been with you.
Yeah, so I see the first one really works, but it is a kind of a simple formula. It really does give. I think Emilio has a lot to work with in this. He really shines as like this driven, frustrated leader, reluctant leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that it's like it's frustrating, but it's incredibly believable and relatable that he's not perfect, and that when things get hard, you want to quit, and
and he's emotionally broken because of his stuff that happened as a youth. The one character that's in all of these that they throw away, they really do nothing with, even though story wise he has a lot, is Adam Banks. But he's not a good actor. He has so much potential, and they give him a little bit in the first one, and it's just in the second, third one, he's just around because I think the kid must have been a legitimately good hockey player who could act, just not a good actor. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, I think so. There's a difference between like an athlete that can act and then an athlete who is an actor. Like, there's not a lot of rocks out there.
Yeah.
they're more like John Cena. Although I think he's getting a lot better.
He is, isn't he? It's surprising. When I first saw him in the Marine, I was like, oh shit, that's terrible. And then,
this is rough.
Yeah, and I guess he walked away for like a decade.
Like Playing with Fire. Did you watch that one?
I haven't seen that one, but I've seen Blockers, and he was pretty good in that.
Yeah, I definitely think he's learning. So I do think that there's people with that raw talent, and then there's people who have, who will improve over time. And yeah, you're right. Maybe that young guy who played Adam Banks, like he was okay, but again, they didn't give him a ton to work with. So, I was just gonna say that, I thought it was like super weird, like MC Gainey, like as the
why is he allowed around children?
His driver, but he is like everywhere, and I'm like this. And it may be the only time I've ever seen him in anything where he's not like a total bad man. Like he's always such a like bad guy, and like often plays like tough criminals and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, that's funny, like. At least he got to be something different. I will say another thing too, like we were looking up what happened to Dave Karp, who was, like I said, in the first one in the main actor in Heavyweights. And we like looked him up, and he did like have a pause in his acting for quite some time, and then he came back in like the 2005 or so, and then he was on like a stint of like Gossip Girl and all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
But he like he's unrecognizable. I mean, I guess you could still kind of see it in his face, but if you look at like some of his pictures on IMDb, the dude is ripped.
Oh, like really? Okay, I gotta look that up later.
He took made a huge turn as an adult, and like he's studly. So good job of getting a hold of, taking your health by the throat and taking care of that stuff. But yeah, he's actually been doing a ton of stuff since like 95 was Heavyweights, and then he didn't act again until 2009.
Wow, that's
and then he's been pretty much he's been acting pretty steadily since. So good job, buddy. But yeah, you see that like kids that are like, in a bunch of stuff for a real short period of time, like over the course of a few years, and then like where'd they go? And then there's some people who like Marguerite Moreau, who, I wouldn't say she's a huge star, but, she has definitely been steadily acting probably more as an adult than when she was a kid.
Right. She's been on Grey's Anatomy for quite a while, right?
Grey's Anatomy? I don't know. I don't watch her show.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't believe that show is still fucking on. I feel like there's a record that everybody is required to have 20 seasons of a show that no one gives a shit about.
Wet Hot American Summer really is what, I mostly know her from. But no, she was on it only for 7 episodes.
Oh, okay.
In 2013.
I actually was when I first started the podcast. I was actually kind of friendly with her, and we would talk in private messages because she wanted to start a podcast and trying to protect, whatever. But it got out of control because I'm a fan, but I'm not like it's fucked up. She left social media because what I was seeing and what she was upset about, and she didn't really tell me, but she said it on social media, is that these guys were like, leave your husband, marry me, you're the most gorgeous woman on earth. I mean, she's married, she had a kid, and it was fucked up. Like, literally, the only thing we ever talked about was, like, promotion on social media and how to work with podcasting and stuff like that. That was it. And then one day she just disappeared, and it sucks that her fucking obsessive, gross fans did that.
Yeah, people are really gross. That's a shame. But anyway, she's still working, she's still doing stuff, but maybe on her own terms, and she's
let's talk about the second one.
Social media is gross.
The second one is almost as successful as the first one. I think it helps that it was so close. It was a 1.5 year difference. I think it's funny that this opened up against Major League 2. Literally, it's like I think it was the same week. So you got two brothers with 2 sports sequels, and both have kind of the same idea: misfit teams trying to come together to win a championship. That must have been an awkward family thing.
I have definitely seen Major League 2 like way more times.
I don't really like the second one that much. It's too repetitive of the first movie. And that's the problem with this one. I think there's just too much that's similar, but there's also too many fucking characters. There's so many people that get pushed with these cliches. I mean, it's so fucking lazy, Mindy. You got the Texas guy, here's a hat and a lasso, and then the Mexican guy who has the music, ole, and stuff like that. And I was like, this is fucking stupid. This is not a good idea.
Yeah, a lot of it is really just like lazy writing.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say something that I thought was interesting is like, okay, Catherine Urbe, I don't know how you say her name, right? So she was like the tutor or something, right? Or for the kids, I think?
Yeah.
But it was like, so I looked it up, and when this movie was only like 4 years after What About Bob? Oh, no, 3. It was 1991, and then this was 94, right? So it was only 3 years after What About Bob. When she was in What About Bob, she was like 16.
She's the daughter in What About Bob? I did not know this.
She's the daughter from What About Bob. She was like playing like 16 years old, and then suddenly 3 years later she's in this movie and she's what, like 25? I mean, she's actually like much older and much more age appropriate in Mighty Ducks 2, but isn't that so crazy that she could, like, the character she would play would change so much in such a short period of time?
Yeah, it's
and
wild.
Then she went on and she did like tons of stuff, and it took me a long time to be like, oh crap, she was a kid actor. I didn't even realize it. I forget, she was on like she was on Oz for 5 years. Holy cow. And some other like homicide like type shows, Anyway, so yeah, that connection to me blew my mind.
Anyway. So the big point of this one is that they now get added to the Goodwill Games, and so they're putting together an international team, and it's being funded by Michael Tucker's character, who, it's weird, I don't know Michael Tucker very well, I know he's on LA Law forever, but it's weird seeing him be so wacky. I was not expecting that at all. I thought he'd be like an authority figure.
Maybe a lot of times I think people decide to do something because they want to do something that's like out of character. Like, nobody really, as an actor, nobody really wants to be typecasted, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
unless it pays you $15 million.
I assume that people got into acting because they wanted to act.
Yeah. So they add, of the people they add Julie, they add Portman, who I cannot fucking stand, and I was also stunned to discover he's the kid from Newsies. I had no clue.
Well, not only that, listen, I discovered 2 more things about him when I looked him up. 1, he was in Newsies, but 2, he is the singing voice of Max in the Goofy movie.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Take that in, buddy.
Yeah, wow.
Take that in. And the last thing I learned about, well, actually I learned many things about him. He went on to have a pretty busy career on Broadway. He has done tons of other things with his life. Like, it seems like he's been very, very, like, active and fulfilled with his life. And lastly, he is married to Idina Menzel.
He is? I thought Taye Diggs
they got divorced a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Huh? Okay, I thought Taye Diggs was married to her.
They were married, but they've been divorced for a long time. But they all were in the Rent movie together.
He's in Rent? I gotta watch that movie.
Shock and awe.
Yeah. So, but his character...
I don't remember him, so I'll have to watch it again.
His character
Crazy, right?
teams
but
up...
he was so annoying in this movie.
Yes, he was. He teams... Well, it's also annoying is that it's a complete steal from Slapshot. There's the Hanson brothers, and they're, like, wild and crazy, and, you know, they beat people up like crazy, and they have the Bash brothers. It's the same fucking thing. It's so lazy they picked that up from another movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad they kind of ditched him for part 3 because he was useless. Kenan Thompson gets added to this. I think this is his debut. This is right before I think what broke out on Nickelodeon, right? With All That or something. Where did he start? Kenan and Kel? I thought it was after All That.
I think that Kenan and Kel came from All That. I believe that they both were on All That before they got their own show.
Okay.
This may have been one of his first things, and I will say that he was a little shit, but honestly, I find him delightful, like always and forever. Yeah, this was his first movie, then Heavyweights, then D3, then Good Burger. Wait.
Yeah, no, Good Burger's 97. Wait. So yeah, it goes.
You know how they do that where they don't put things in order.
Oh, okay.
Kenan and Kel was on from 96 to 2000. So when was All That on? Was 94. So he was on. It was the same time, I guess. 94 to 2019. Well, that doesn't help people. Liars.
So Michael Vitar from Sandlot is what most people know him from. He's added to the franchise as Louis. Now, I think he's completely wasted in the second one. I think it's mildly racist. But when he comes up in part 3, his character, they ditch a lot of that, and they make him kind of the lover of the group, and they give him more to do.
He's kind of a perv, though.
Yeah, but I kind of like his character in part 3. Because it's so bad in part 2. I think it's just the juxtaposition. But yeah, looking up the skirts in a Disney movie. Come on.
Yeah, you know, in the second one, just like some of the other characters, it's very, very, very lazy writing.
Yeah. And,
yeah, they really kind of do some of these kids dirty, you know?
And in Ken, his character is completely wasted in this one, but he gets better in the third one as well. Played by Justin Wong.
Yes.
The main plot is, I said, the Goodwill Games, and they take on the evil, was it Icelandic or Norwegian, Swedish? I can't remember.
Yeah, Iceland, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's
not Sweden. Sweden isn't evil.
No, but the team is. But that's really all I want to say about the second one. The second one did almost as well as the first one, but I don't think it's anywhere nearly as good.
Also, all the, celebrity guest appearances were so awkward.
They're so terrible. They're clearly phoned in. They must have had a deal with the NHL or something, and they traded off. Like, hey, we'll have some of these guys show up and promote the NHL if you allow them to be in the movie.
Super awkward.
Now we get to the end. The trilogy is complete. What is it you don't like about the third one? Because this might actually be my favorite of the trilogy. I've seen it so many times, though.
I think that there's a few things. One, like I said, the over-the-top cartoony sound effects piss me off. Just so lazy, stereotypical bully jocks.
Yeah, that is tiresome. The villains aren't anywhere nearly as good, but the thing is I think they're kind of pointless. The villain is almost themselves. The Mighty Ducks are tearing themselves apart.
What I do like... I will say one other thing that frustrates me is, it's such a weird thing. Okay, in the first one, like Gordon, Coach Bombay is sort of having some kind of romance with Charlie's mom, right? Okay, so then like, well, he goes off to try to be in the minor leagues, and then he's gone for a little bit. He gets hurt, he comes back, and then all like it's been like what, maybe a year, and then suddenly his mom is like remarried, and is not in the second movie at all, and then that's all they say of her, and then the third movie she comes back. She works at the same fucking diner. They never ever talk about nor show this supposed husband that she got married to, and completely drop the plot line. I mean, she's not really in that much of the movie, but still, it's just like, I feel like there's some serious continuity issues with that side character, but she was kind of a lot more important in the first one.
Right.
And the third one.
I don't like
weird.
The inconsistency of Hans, because the guy who plays Hans in the second movie I don't think is very good. And
the guy isn't playing Hans. He's his cousin.
Really?
Because Hans had to go home.
I fucking missed that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's not playing Hans. He's playing his like cousin or his brother or something. But it's still weird because everybody knows him. But how do they know him? They've never shown him before. It's still weird. Yeah, the guy who played Hans, for some reason, he couldn't be in the second one, and I don't remember why. But yeah, it's weird. And then, one thing I really do like about the third one, though, is that the coach at the school is not at all what you think.
Yeah. I think
they make it seem like he's going to be the villain, but then you realize, oh no, Charlie's kind of being a dick.
Yeah, well, they're all. That's the thing that the thing that runs through all the movies is that if they don't have anybody to guide them, they're a mess. They don't work. They're
little menaces.
Yeah, they don't work as a team. They're all being selfish, but it's also realistic because teenagers are all going off in their own direction, and it's only this thing that unifies them, but briefly for just the season.
Yeah.
But my big peeve in this is they never should have put Emilio Estevez's name first. It's bullshit. They put him up front on the cover with his name above the title, and he's only in it for 8 minutes at most.
Yeah, but, like, I get that Joshua Jackson is really the star, but I can understand why that wouldn't fly.
I guess. Does it fly together?
It's lazy, but Disney is lazy sometimes.
I guess, but he really isn't part of this at all because he has a whole different...
I don't disagree with you, but I'm not sure how else they would have done it.
I guess, but it's already established franchise, though. It's already established with kids. I don't know if they cared if it said, and Emilio Estevez. It should have said Joshua Jackson, Jeffrey Nordling, and Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, I just think that Disney, is... I don't even know if they do it now. Would they
if they re-released it on DVD? Would they change the cover? Yeah, I mean, companies do it all the time.
No, I just mean, I think they're have a little bit more chutzpah now than they did in the 90s.
Right. Everybody says, the 90s are so classic, and I was like, Disney was a little lost in the 90s too, guys.
Oh, yes, they were. Absolutely. I do think it's really, really funny to see, Michael Cudlitz, I don't know if that's how you say his name, playing a teenager bully in this movie. And what I mostly know him from is, The Walking Dead and, Southland.
Right, Band of Brothers.
To me, he seems like he's 50-something.
Oh, he always seems like he's 50.
Seems like an old man.
Yeah. And every single one of these teen movies, where it seems to have someone like this, because you watch Airborne, there's Jack Black, and then you watch My Boyfriend's Back, and there's Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm like, weren't they always old?
I guess if you think about it, I'm trying to do math, and he really is 55 years old now, so I guess it makes sense. But I think he might have been slightly too old to be in this movie.
Maybe.
But again, I didn't know him except for as an adult, so it's hard sometimes to see it, a different perspective.
Yeah.
Something else I think is super bizarre is that their teacher, who was in one scene.
Thank you.
The woman.
Yes.
Wasn't she the principal in the first one?
Yeah, and I'm like, they're making no notice that she's the same actress playing two different... Is she supposed to be two different characters? I think so.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
That's really stupid.
Like, is this the director's mom? I'm so confused. Like, it was like... And she was only in one teeny tiny little scene. But it was just like super bizarre.
Well, she has a very unique face, and you immediately pick that up. You're like, what?
Yeah, she reminds me of like Mrs. Trunchbull from Matilda. Or have you ever seen Matilda?
I have never seen Matilda. I will one day, though.
Okay, never mind. Very, very serious facial features.
And the big thing about this movie is that Charlie has had his father figure taken away again. But this time he's completely out of it, and he's got a new guy there who's trying to, Coach Orion, played by Jeffrey Nordling, his job is, hey, you guys are in high school now. This is when you start deciding, do you want to do this professionally or not? I have to whip you into shape as if you are being scouted right now for college or to go straight to the majors, and you guys are fucking it up left and right.
Yeah, but also at the same time, like, you think that he's going to be that, like, bully coach that's like who is their quote unquote villain in the movie, and he just straight up is not that at all. He is really very, very different than you expect, which they teach you that. And you're right, I really do think that the point of this movie is really like, get out of your own way. Like, you can be your own villain. You can be like the person standing in the way of your success, because that's basically what it was, especially for Charlie. But for a lot of them, they had an idea. They were mostly like, had big egos after what had happened in the first few movies. And they're, we're just, I don't know. Like, do you think that's what? Do you think
a lot of it was that they became self-confident over this, but not in a positive way. They were like almost abusing it and lazy.
They got cocky, dude.
Yeah, and that they had to go and relearn again and learn how to play differently, because the way you play as a kid, you're just trying to make it through, and then trying to be legit is totally different thing. Yeah,
and really just like, they need to learn how to be team players. And I think a lot of the first movie was just luck. They weren't really very good players, and you're right, they had to really learn how to play as a team.
Yeah. Well, in the second one, they also have gimmicks. The gimmicks are stupid. The third one, they have to learn to be legitimate hockey players.
Yeah. And, I think one of the things that dates these movies kind of badly is their, like, deep commitment to the rollerblades.
Yeah.
And that one scene with Charlie and Goldberg, the hokiest fucking thing that goes on forever and ever and ever, where he's like, he rolls, he can't skate. You still cannot skate?
Yeah, it's so stupid.
How can these people still not skate? And he like goes down the stairs, and then Charlie has to go after him, and it's just like hijinks after hijinks after hijinks and awkward stupidness. And I'm like, I'm sorry, he first of all can't skate, but yet he manages to stay upright the entire time. And Charlie, who can skate remarkably well and is like skating at full speed to try to catch him, cannot catch him. Like, it is just, that whole thing was just stupid, pointless, like pratfall humor, which really, really was a waste of time.
Yeah,
and
I wish it had been a little.
Me.
They should have focused by this point on the character-based humor. Is what worked best. Misunderstandings and the dialogue stuff works. The physical comedy stuff is bullshit.
Yeah.
Who's the girl from Wonderland? She's in this, and I had never seen her before, and I thought she was so great immediately. What's her name? I can't remember. Isn't this the girl from Wonderland?
Oh my god, I don't know.
I don't see her here.
Is that her?
I'm looking for her in the credits.
I don't think so.
Really?
His like love interest that was sort of like a. I don't think that's the same person.
I'm gonna look it up.
I think it's this girl. Her character name was Linda, maybe. I don't recognize her. She was in Far From Home. Are You Afraid of the Dark? D3. Not very much stuff.
Okay, I really thought that was the girl from that show. Huh.
She did have a kind of a familiar look, but I don't. Yeah, that wasn't her.
Oh, okay. The Pantera scene is bullshit, by the way. When she says that, she's like, "Oh yeah, I love Pantera." The minute I saw that, I was like, "Horseshit."
I was like, "What an entirely bizarre thing for them to say in a Disney movie," because I don't think any teenager likes Pantera.
Right? It's not like something like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." I mean, it's 1996. They should have said something like Foo Fighters or something, you know.
I don't know. I don't know what they should have said, but that was bizarre. Yeah. Who decided that, you weirdos?
Whoever filmed the hockey sequences in Part 3 did an amazing job, because there's clearly some stunt double stuff there, and I was shocked that it worked. Especially in Part 2, when Emil Estevez is probably an okay skater, but not as good as they were showing him competing with the guy from Iceland. And I was like, whoever's editing and shooting this is doing a great job. The sports in this... The actual gameplay in 2 and 3 are amazing.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny is that I really enjoy sports movies, but I don't really care for sports.
I have the same exact thing. I cannot... Here's the thing is, I can watch dramas of almost any sport, but if it's football, fuck no. I do not like football dramas. I will watch the football comedies, and that's it.
I will tell you that I would say that I enjoy them the least of all. I do quite like baseball movies of most varieties. I do kind of like I like pretty much hockey of any kind. I actually do like hockey, but considering the amount of live sporting events I've seen, I could probably count on one hand. Most of them are football. However, I do actually understand football, so that helps quite a bit.
I don't understand football at all, and I can't believe you've seen this many football games. How the fuck have you seen so many football games?
Well, I mean, I went to a lot of them in high school because that was the only thing to do in our town.
Right, I forgot.
But I will tell you that I learned how football worked from playing powder puff football in college.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
That's the thing. A girl almost broke my face.
Oh.
And I thought she actually broke my jaw. But I am actually a good football player. And my roommate explained it very well to me. So I think that you can enjoy... I mean, you can enjoy sports movies without understanding the fucking sport, but I think that it helps. It makes it less frustrating when you do understand it. I think football is probably the most confusing sport there is. Well, I don't know. Maybe, what's the one with the brooms? That one's confusing too.
Men with Brooms,
Men with Brooms explains it very well, so thank you. That's a very excellent sports movie. I think it does help, but you're right. I think sports movies, that's football's lower on my list. Of hockey and baseball are much higher up there. But anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, we saw so many hockey games as kids though, because seeing the Fort Wayne Comets. But I think I've been to a couple ice games in college, and that was it. Hockey is not as common because it's so hard to insure. You know, and the whole playing area is different. And it does seem it's very regional. Up north, of course, you have more hockey than you would down south. At least that's the way it used to be.
Yeah. I mean, and we have a couple of teams in our state, but California is a ginormous state.
Right.
I think, you know, there's San Jose and... the Mighty Ducks actually still a team?
I don't know,
Are they a team?
I have no idea if they're still a team.
I did think that was kind of funny in the third movie, how he referenced that there's a professional hockey team named after us. That kind of cracked me up.
Yeah.
But if it's not even still a team, then there's really only one team in California, and California is a pretty huge state.
No, there has to be. The LA Kings, Sacramento, or San Jose Sharks.
Well,
thought there's other ones.
The Kings, are they a hockey team?
There's two different Kings. LA Kings and Sacramento Kings. But we had, when I lived in Hillsboro, right down the street from Target where I worked was a hockey training place for the Winterhawks. And so one of the ladies I worked with, her husband was on the team. We went to like every game. They were called, I kid you not, the Trunk Monkeys.
Is that like a minor league team?
Minor of a minor.
Junior ice hockey team.
Kind of.
That's cool.
I mean, they were in their 20s, but they were the team that the Winterhawks would train with.
I think that's cool. If I had somewhere closer team, I would definitely go. Because I think it's kind of fun. And maybe it's because I had positive memories of, like, you know, going to games and stuff when we were little kids.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why I like hockey more than other stuff. I'm not really sure. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a franchise that stood the test of time. People still love it, of course, because we have a revival. But, I mean, it became a real team. It was a cartoon with fucking mutant ducks that were superheroes, I think, or something. But
I've never seen it, but I'll have to check that out.
The biggest thing of this is that it was a launching pad for so many successful actors now. And good Lord, if Jake Gyllenhaal got this and Joshua Jackson was never discovered, the world would be a lot less enjoyable because Jake found his way.
I'm just going to say... Jesus, he is a good actor. And I know that Dawson's Creek is some dumbass shit, but I have sat through the entire series at least 3 times. And I'm going to say that the majority of that reason is because he is so good in that show.
No, Pacey
he
is
doesn't
the
have
best
the
character.
best to work with, but he does such a great job with it, you know? And then he goes on to do such great things as an adult. And I like just recently watched that mini series thing that with Reese Witherspoon that he was in. I can't even remember what it's called.
Yeah, but of course, Friends. Let's not forget that. That's the one that really like.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's like obvious, but there's other stuff that he's been in that I haven't
Skulls.
seen. I saw that you had that on your Vudu account, and I demand that we watch it for this podcast in the future. I don't know what we would pair it with, but
we'll figure it out. We always have fun. I think we have fun sometimes trying to pair it with like the perfect thing. It's a little frustrating sometimes, but once you get it, you're like, yes. Whereas it's easy to do.
No, I think that's part of the fun for me. Definitely is like trying to figure like, ooh, it doesn't make any sense, but I do really, really love one of his other movies. You know which one? Is
it Cruel Intentions?
No.
Urban
Although
Legend.
we should...
Lone Star State of Mind.
That they don't go together at all, but I love that movie so very much, and I think it does not get any love, and it really should.
Yeah, well, it went straight to video. It was so thrown away by Sony.
And we could watch Gossip. That movie is fucking great.
I've never seen that.
It's not great, but it does have Norman Reedus in one of his earlier roles, which I appreciate. So anyway, we'll figure it out. But I do think we need to have a little Joshua Jackson love fest, because this definitely wasn't enough.
So our next episode is going to be celebrating 25 years of The Craft. So we're watching the original and the semi-sequel remake. What is it? Is it a sequel or remake? What is it?
I'm not quite certain, and I have not watched it yet, so I guess we can figure it out.
You know, originally, if there wasn't the sequel, I had this on my list last year before I knew that there was ever going to be a legacy, is that I had it with The Covenant, which is basically The Craft, but with boys. And I was torn. But I clearly, unless The Craft legacy sucks ass, we'll do the double feature of that. But we're definitely celebrating the first one.
Okay. Definitely. Okay, that sounds good to me.
All right, so that is it with this episode. Everybody, thank you very much for supporting us. We are on Facebook under Video Night Podcast, and on social media, Twitter under Who Gives a Fuck. I just realized I don't give a shit about Twitter.
I mean, literally, it's everywhere. You can find it on anything. Just ask us if you want to find more episodes.
Yeah, so many apps it's on now. It took me forever just to load it up to everything, but definitely iTunes is our big deal, I guess. But anything you want to say before we go?
Nah.
All right. All I want to say is quack, quack, Mindy. Quack, quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack.
Quack, 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 quack.
Quack, quack, Mr. Dudsworth. Quack, quack. Stop it. Stop it. All right, everybody. Bye.